Hey guys, so I got this 92 Chevy C1500. I actually bought it when I was 18, so I've had it longer than I haven't because I'm 41 years old. Anyways, pulled out the 4.3 and we dropped in the 5.7, built it, put a street strip cam in it. And the big thing for me was I really liked the idea of the Holley Sniper electronic fuel injection system. And so that's kind of what this video is today. Because if you jump on the forums, hey, man, there's more bad news than there is good news, and I really do believe that these systems are fantastic. I believe most of the issues that we're running into is installation error or pre-existing conditions with the vehicle, exhaust leaks, things of that nature. That's not allowing the system to work properly. That being said, I rebuilt this motor, put the EFI on there, and very first startup, a little bit nervous. She cranks over, it's like half a crank, boom, just fires right up. Just fires right up. Seems to be running really good. I'm paying zero attention to the 3.5-inch monitor for the Sniper because I'm checking, I'm listening, for any weird rattles, clunks, clinks, anything that you would experience with a failed first engine start. So I was really kind of worried about that stuff. I only let it run for about 10 minutes. If that, simply because once she started to warm up, I developed a pretty severe oil leak. And so I shut her down, addressed the situation, got it taken care of. And basically, it was on the backside of the manifold right there. I simply just didn't put enough sealant back there, and it pushed it out and it was leaking. So I got that taken care of. Anyways, after that, fired her back up and it would run, and then it just shut off. Like it seemed like everything was going great, and it would just shut off. And I'm trying to do a motor break in, but the gauges would all go red and say no data. At the same time, the fuel pump is just running and running and running and running, and it's just flooding the Sniper to the point where I filled up a cylinder full of gasoline and I hydrolocked the darn thing. And that was kind of a scary moment because the engine was running when it hydrolocked, and it just comes to an abrupt stop. So I was kind of at my wit's end. I'm going through, I'm double checking all of my connections because I know without a doubt that I wired this thing up correctly. I mean, the wiring is what I do. I soldered every connection. I thought I was doing a great job of keeping the wires separated from, anything that could cause RFI. And evidently, I just didn't take it seriously enough. So I was at my wit's end, and I just came to the assumptions like, you know what? Maybe it is RFI. And so I went through and I just did some rearranging of wires on this motor. And, the first thing I did is like, the alternator's over here. Let's move the alternator wires from here to this side of the motor. And that's going to move that electrical away from my Sniper wiring harness. Okay. Also, I moved, you can see I had my box mounted right there. I moved it over here for two reasons. Let's get it away from the headers. All right. The heat, long-term heat damage, probably not going to be good on it anyways. But in addition, it's like, hey, I got spark plug wires right there. The distributor's right there. Plus the main wiring harness kind of runs through that area right there. So it's like, less wires, less hassle. Let's move that away from over here. Now the coil wire runs up and along the top. They give you a lot of wire and it hooks in back there. I figured I probably don't need to mess with that too much. And so I left it where it was, but it did move the wires way over here. Now you have a couple requirements for the constant 12 volt DC that should be on when the ignition is on and also during cranking. Okay, and that's required for the Sniper unit itself, as well as a couple other components. And I wanted to make sure that those systems were completely separated. So for the Sniper itself that goes to the wiring harness, I used the power cord that you went to the old distributor on the backside right there, and I actually fished it out over here. So this is actually it. I took it out of the wiring harness and I'm running it all the way up along the side in front of the radiator down here, and then it pops out over here where it marries into my wiring harness that I have running up here. And basically most of my wires are actually coming up to the front of the motor, again keeping it away from everything that's back there to minimize any type of interference. In addition to that, you want it to look a little bit nicer, and I know it's not immaculate, but it's not a show truck. But this right here is actually, it helps it look nice, but this is metal. Okay, this is metal. I got it off Amazon. I think like 2 or 3 feet is like $15 or something like that. And so that helps to insulate it, from some heat, makes it look nicer, but also it's going to help to reflect and protect it from any potential RFI. In addition, I did the same thing on the main wiring harness right up in here. Okay. Other things that I wanted to make sure is that my battery ground went straight to the block. Actually, I ran this one straight to the frame. All right, this one goes down to the frame down here, and then I ran a separate ground strap from the back of the cylinder head that also goes up to the frame. That's that big black one right there. I want to make sure I had good quality grounds for this. So with moving some of the old harness around and then reworking where my the sniper harness was, I fired it back up, and it's run great since. It's been fantastic. More power than I could desire. I actually had to put the linkage lever on there for the throttle because it was so touchy. I was just chirping the tires every time I let the clutch out, every time I shifted gears, and that's not how I want to go through, chirping around and pissing off my neighbors. So I put that lever on there, and it definitely toned down the throttle response, which was again really, really great. So I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 10 hours on the sniper right now in the engine build, and that's just tinkering, kind of cruising around town, letting it learn up and down the freeway. But the big one was I went through and I put about 200 miles on it the other day. So, and that was all mostly highway driving and a little bit around town, and drove out of town to see my dad, show him what was going on. And it ran great. So I really do believe that we are underestimating the radio frequency interference when we're putting them in these old rigs. These trucks, these cars back then, they just weren't made with this type of electronic system in mind, okay? And so they weren't properly shielding stuff. So take the time, do the work, and don't throw in the towel. I literally was going down, I was looking at maybe putting a carb on here because I was just kind of at my wit's end, and I'm like, no, we've already spent thousands of dollars on the system. It's already here, let's work with it, let's make it work. And it was definitely worth the patience and double checking everything. So I hope it's helpful. And if it's not, oh well, I hope you like my pretty engine. Thank you.